awesome. It
Yeah.
took
I think someone's trying to join on here.
I think this is
Think
Miss
so
Briggie Williams,
too.
but I don't know if she has audio or video capabilities functioning yet.
Hmm.
But that is
Looks
that is her
like-
artwork and her.
Oh, I
There
see
she
someone.
is.
Yay.
What up?
How are you?
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm okay. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
fine.
it's good to finally meet you.
Yeah. I was
So,
having some technical difficulties, serious technical difficulties, but I made it.
Totally understandable. So
Yes.
I've told people that you would be coming and a little bit about you, but since you're here now,
Oh,
I'm going to introduce you to these cats, and then if you would introduce yourself to whoever's watching, and then we'll let you talk about a movie because we just finished up one.
oh, okay, sure.
Unless you
That
want to wait a
sounds
little
good.
longer, I can do one if you want.
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, I'll say what I'll give my opinions, and
Okay,
this
cool.
I'm my first time here. I don't know how it rolls. We'll see.
Just hit the ground running, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
about
this
right.
is Bill Mulligan up here in the corner.
Hello.
I guess you guys tell Briggie who you are, because rather than me do it,
Oh, okay.
because you know more about yourself than I do. Hopefully.
Oh, well, one would hope. I've forgotten a lot. Hi, I'm Bill Mulligan. I'm a high school science teacher here in Sanford, North Carolina. Love movies. I do 2 or 3 podcasts a week, including this one. And hey, here's a chance to pimp my book. Ron, my first published book came out last year. So I'm looking forward.
Congratulations.
I'm looking forward to retiring soon and doing a lot more writing and a lot of podcasting.
Excellent.
Bill's been with us since the very first episode, and he's been on almost every episode. And he actually hosted the last episode for the first time and moderated it. He did a kick-ass job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
sir.
did.
So this other guy over here is CF Roberts.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm CF Roberts. You can call me Chuck. Writer, videographer, artist living in Northwest Arkansas. You can buy my book too.
What is the title?
Available. This one is Burnt Sunflower. Of course, I have to look at
That's
the
an awesome. That's an
subtitle
awesome
here.
title.
Yeah.
Subjective poems or selected poems 1990 to 2021. I have a couple other ones that are all available on Amazon, but
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one
that's
before.
one.
Cool.
Thanks.
And just for the benefit of anyone who's interested watching or Briggie, Chuck's occasional technical consultant on the show is someone who's very high in the echelons of this general space of cult movie talk. Heather Drain, and so props to her. That's how I met both of them on MySpace years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, they were
My
doing y'all were
baby.
doing it your in the comment section, y'all were doing links to like a public access type show. You were sitting in your couch and talking about movies.
We did several. Yeah, that was her show. That was Mondo Pazzo.
But you were
which,
on it a few times. I'm pretty sure.
I was on it. I was on every episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, did I luck out and get the Chuck episode? Mondo.
Yeah,
Pazzo?
no, they're all Chuck episodes, but they're very hard to find now. They're very hard to find now because she did not upload any of them. She figured we're showing music videos and movie trailers, and there was probably the chance that we're up against 1 million copyright strikes.
That's why this channel never shows movie clips.
Yeah.
Oh.
Several people who have been with podcasts. I don't know if anyone here, but like Dwayne, for instance, is like our co-producer, technical director, asked me first thing, well, why don't you, let's edit in some movie clips. I'm like, I'm not getting sued, man.
Yeah, it's a whole mess, and it's not worth it.
The people who
to fight it.
The fanboys on YouTube who can afford to do all those nonstop movie clips of Marvel movies, check out their subscribers. They all have at least 1 million subscribers, so they can easily afford that. We don't have it, but one day, and we're gonna show the most lewd clips we can get away with.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding, but Kaylin, go ahead and tell her about yourself.
That was a promise, not just a threat. Hi, so
Hi.
my name's Kaylin Ireland. I am a public health worker by day and a recently finished grad school would like to become a professor eventually person by the rest of the time. So I met Henrietta Kahn several years ago, and Bill, actually, both of them, because Henry and I both went to Bill's panel on
The
horror
stars were
films back
aligned.
then. And yeah, it was just one of those, like, we just happened to all meet at this
That's cool.
one moment in time, which was amazing.
And it was an
met
H.P.
Chuck later through
Lovecraft
this
panel.
podcast.
That's
It
right.
was, yes, it was
I remember that
Lovecraft.
one.
Ah,
So the
Wow.
stars
Yeah.
were indeed aligned. But go ahead.
Yes,
Okay.
it really was. So, you know, friends ever since, have kind of hung out online. I like doing research about popular culture, so like film, TV, novels. Would like to do more on video games at some point in the future, but I love good stories and storytelling and chances to talk about really good art. So
And Kaylin
Okay.
is the co-producer of the show. I mean, Dwayne is too, but Dwayne takes care of making sure
he's
we
our
look-
tech guy.
yeah, he makes sure we look
He
and
does stuff
sound
I don't know how to
good.
do.
You know, have videos up. I mean, and he's
Mhm.
gotten actually far more involved now than ever before. I mean,
Yeah.
he listens to everyone, plays them back, tells me what was good, what's bad, and he is so talking about the content. You know, even movies he's not familiar with. You know how he feels people come across. So far, he hasn't said anything negative about any of us.
It's good.
But because he'll tell you honestly.
Yeah.
But Kaylin is like my creative co-producer. I mean, she helps me decide the topics. Half the time she decides the topics, which is cool, and or comes up with the topics.
I suggest the topics. You get
Right.
the final say.
And we end up going with them, you know, and she's really brought the podcast to a whole nother level. We didn't have any female podcasters. I had a friend, Frances. I kept trying to get her to do it. She couldn't do it. Later, she did join us for about 6 weeks. But so yeah, it definitely changed the texture of the show much, much for the better. And we all got used to each other
Right.
too. So
That's great.
who are you, Briggie?
Oh goodness, who am I?
Maybe
Well,
an
I'm
existential
The
on you.
existential question of the
Yeah.
night.
I'm Briggie Williams. I'm also an artist. You know, I'm a vocalist. I sing jazz and blues. I'm also a visual artist. I do abstract art, some representational work, but mainly abstract. Let's see, what else? I do certainly write, and I'm a wordy person, so I like words. Definitely like in my own world. It seems like you are all artists, and so you kind of get it and you understand. It's very, I would say, you live a very reclusive lifestyle because you're just so into that world of creativity and creation. So that's what I do. I'm also I met our dear friend here. I'm sure he told you on Facebook. I'm an admin for a political page.
Jimmy Dore
And-
fans, subscribe everybody now.
I didn't want to say.
I said it earlier. I just said it earlier. So.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I broke it for you. So
Okay. And right. And Henry said, "Hey, look, we need some color in this group. So can you please," not quite like that, but
I
just a
mean,
different
we do though.
perspective.
So
we do. And for this topic,
What?
especially, why not? I mean, hello.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not like uptight in that way. And just from our communication online, I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to just come out and tell me, "Hey, look, this is what we would like."
Well, yeah.
to
Then we had
do.
a massive phone conversation.
We had a very massive one. It was an hour. I didn't even know it was an hour.
Yeah.
So we really did sort of put some time in. But that's what I do. I live in Pennsylvania. I'm from New York. So I went to school there. I went to performing arts. You know, I left New York to live in the I guess the mean streets of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, if there is such a thing. And that's about it. I'm sure there's more. I just can't remember. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah, and I'm certainly into movies as well. I'm very analytical when it comes to movies, breaking them down into their like tiniest little pieces. And
That's really
you know,
what
me-
this channel is about. Seriously,
Oh.
that's why deep's in the title. You know, so
Okay.
you lucked
Okay.
out.
Very good.
We
Well,
lucked out.
go deep or go home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm okay with like, you know, back and forth and, you know, but, you know, Henry told me you guys are pretty laid back and not crazy, but that's
Wow.
different perspectives. Very, very good.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say our other producer, Tim Tolbert, who also helps give me topics and appears as a
Mhm.
panelist semi regularly. He helped me come up with the show in the first place, and
Mhm.
because he and I would have these like 5 hour phone conversations about movies and comics, and they'd start getting really like philosophical and political
Mhm.
and psychosexual,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, we should do a podcast one day. He's like, yeah, we will, yeah, eventually. Um,
Yeah.
but he also is in Pennsylvania. That's my point I was getting to.
Oh, cool.
And he
Okay, where's
actually
he at?
he's in
Mhm.
forgot the name of the town he lives,
It's
because I get
okay.
no offense, I get all the burgs mixed up. Chamberburg, Harrisburg, I get them all.
Well, at least you know it's a burg.
I
Mhm.
know it's a burg. He lives in a
Yeah.
burg,
That
and
narrows it down.
and he lives not far from where George Romero operated at his height. And so when the Dawn of the Dead anniversary thing came, he told me they're going to show it here at the mall where it was shot. And he already knew a lot of the surviving cast and crew members from conventions anyway. And he went on the internet and he found out it was playing in my town in our very first art house theater we ever, which only opened 2 years ago. Charlotte is like a very, very, very late bloomer as far as culture goes. And so we finally have an art house theater. It's so awesome. And he's like, I'll tell you what, yeah, I'm gonna go. Are you gonna go? And he bought my ticket. He's like, I want you to go, because I was like destitute. And he's like, if you can somehow get a ride out there, you can go, and we'll do an episode about it. And so he went on his night and had his thing, and Tom Savini talked, for instance, and I went to mine, and it was what it was. It was really great. And then we asked who in the group was really into Dawn of the Dead that was available really
Mhm.
close to after the time of the movie showing, and it was these two, Kaylin and Bill, and so the four of us had a session. It was like 2 hours. I broke it
Mhm.
into 2 1 hour episodes. And to be honest, other than the Tim connection, the other reason I'm going on about it is not just because I'm into Romero, but they are our most watched videos now. In a
Hmm.
matter of
Oh,
weeks,
nice.
Yeah.
they've been
Yeah.
watched like by an insane amount of people for
Oh,
us.
that's awesome. I'm
I
so
mean,
glad, because those are
yeah.
some of my favorite episodes that we've done. I really enjoyed that conversation a lot.
So all the horror kids were like, they're finally doing something I like.
Yeah.
Dang, I guess I'll check them out. But so Briggie, what movie first did you want to maybe talk about?
Oh, well, before I begin to do that, I did send you a message,
Yeah.
and I thought I was getting into the chat. I thought you thought I was some weird person trying to get in, so I sent you something going, "Hey, it's Funky Lollipop." You're like, "That's me." So that's also me. That's what I
No, I knew
created.
that. I knew that, but they didn't. Yeah, I said it was
Oh,
you.
you told them. Okay,
I've
so you
been on
don't
your
think I'm like,
website. Yeah, I love your art. It's
oh,
incredible.
did you get it?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That was
Wow.
when I became a moderator, and I think one day we were on one of those moderator threads, and we got into a funny conversation. I was like, I want to see what this chick's about, man. She sounds cool as hell. So I love your website. I love your art.
Yeah, okay, so that's okay, cool. Very good. All right, so I'm not just some strange person. All right, the theme, I don't know, is there like a particular theme
No,
for
I can I kind of went through it earlier what we meant by black cinema, but
yeah.
I talked to you a little bit about it.
Mhm.
If you need any further summing up, I mean, I'm sure Kaylin could do it because she's brilliant about that kind of stuff.
Oh gosh. Do you want me to just give a quick spiel?
Yeah, just
Like,
sum up
okay.
what we're doing real quick. This
I
will
can
this
do
will be
that,
for
I can do
we're
that.
splitting these into episodes anyway, so
True. So basically for Black cinema, what we wanted to talk about is some of the diversity of Black cinema in general. We're not trying to get to like every single thing within that, because obviously that is a humongous umbrella. But we're trying to really be as expansive as we can, cover different genres, cover things from different periods of time, cover things where Black people have been different parts of creative teams. So like actors, directors, writers, cinematographers,
Mhm.
all that good stuff. As well as international. We've already started talking about some films from different countries. So not just African American, but also, directors from Africa, from Latin America, from Europe, what have you. So
yeah. And my only
anything that falls under that umbrella.
exactly. And the only parameter I gave all of y'all was just that it should at least have a black lead character, and at least if only on the down low have some kind of relevance to being black. Like, because I told Briggie, I said, you know, it was too obvious, everybody's done it, but you know, Night of the Living Dead would be perfect. Ben is a black character. He's the main character. He's awesome. But also, according to Romero, coincidentally, but you know how art works, he was the first black lead in a genre film ever.
Mm.
So, you know, and he's legendary. You know, not only that, but he went on to star in a really weird, more obscure genre film, Ganja and Hess, which I think
Yes.
just
Yes.
I've covered it on this channel. It's one
I was
of my
gonna say, I
very
know
favorite
I
movies.
remember you covering that one a while back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Dwayne Jones, he didn't have a huge output because he mostly worked on stage, and
Yeah.
but what he did was amazing. He worked on he did a cameo in one of the Bill Gunn adjacent movies. I don't think it's the one that I'm planning on covering, but Bill Gunn directed Ganja and Hess, and but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, the two movies that I'm going to sort of submit, one is called Matilda, the other one is The Learning Tree. I don't know if you're familiar with either one,
I've seen both.
but you see, okay, so
I'm more familiar with Melinda. I've seen it a couple of times.
I've seen that a couple of times. Yeah, I was kind of taken with that. So my perspective of that was just noticing, of course, the way people dressed, the way people moved. I was really intrigued by how it started out, kind of as it kind of had like a Shaft kind of energy in the like, you know, this very smooth player type guy, and then it turned into this like murder mystery, and this woman that he met like 2 days and fell in love, and then found her dead in his apartment, and then it turned into
Incredible.
something else. So it kind of went one way, and then it took you in a different direction. Sort of a little bit of a love triangle as well, because there was another person there who was in love with the main character. I'm sorry, Calvin Lockhart. He was like
Calvin
the main
Lockhart.
character. So
Twin
right, so
Peaks is Calvin Lockhart.
I'm sorry?
If someone is in Twin Peaks ever, that's how I announce them on the show, because I'm obsessed with Twin Peaks.
Yes.
So, like, if you may name an actor like Calvin Lockhart who's been in Twin Peaks, I'll go Twin Peaks. Calvin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Lockhart
need
of
to
Twin
watch
Peaks.
that again.
He's only been in the movie, but it was
That's why. Okay.
not non-speaking, but incredibly
Yeah.
important role to the
Can you remind
mythology.
me which character real quick? Just
He played the
because-
electrician in
Okay.
of the Woodsman.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So continue.
Okay.
Also love Twin Peaks.
Yeah, no, that was an epic series, I have to say. I mean, I enjoyed the series. I
Hey,
didn't see
Justin.
Hey,
the movies
Justin.
too much.
Hey, Justin.
How's it going?
Oh, well, Justin's on
Hey.
vacation. Hello.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
Nice to be. Yeah,
He
Hello,
it's
Justin.
it looks a bit warmer than it actually is here, so that's good.
he was going for authenticity, so he went to the
Mhm.
Caribbean, and he's going to review The Harder They Come. No, I'm kidding. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm going to review The Harder They Come. But
I'm in Barbados.
yes, so
Oh,
Briggie is
okay.
doing her first movie, so we're going to let her wrap up before we introduce y'all.
Yeah, and Terry Davis also was, you know, a character in the movie that played, I would say, like, I'm gonna say, like, kind of the jilted lover. She was kind of a gun moll. This is just how I perceived it to be.
No, I got you.
Yeah, and she was just really just wanting like the love of this man that had wanted nothing to do with her, but she kind of proved herself kind of toward the end of the movie. There was a lot of that very 70s. I don't know exactly how to put it, but it seemed like there was a lot of like kind of like that 70s racial tension, but there was also the drug aspect of it as well. And again, another kind of whodunit, and then exacting revenge. I also what I really loved too was the Jim Kelly was in it, which was surprising. Yeah, I thought that was great. Anybody who is into like Three the Hard Way or any of like the Bruce Lee movies, there was a lot of at that time. There was a lot like karate was very big at that time in cinema. more than guns, I would say. There were lots of people like who were very into using
Kung Fu was everywhere. There was even that song Kung Fu Fighting. And when
Kung
I
Fu
was growing
fighting.
up, now the
Yeah.
character's pretty much unrecognizable now, but that character
Mhm.
Shang-Chi they made a movie about. I read his
Mhm.
comics when I was a little kid. So he was
Oh,
a
wow.
master of Kung Fu. He was literally, it said it on the comic, master of
Yep,
Kung Fu.
Master Kung Fu.
Mhm, mhm,
You
right.
know,
Right.
my wife and I actually played the Kung Fu Fighting song at our wedding and did Kung Fu to it. It was the most ridiculous
Oh, I forgot you do Kung Fu.
ever,
Yes.
but we're big dorks. I just
So continue.
It
You
was
were
fun.
analyzing the movie. I liked it. I felt like it was like a blaxploitation
Mhm.
giallo love story.
Yes.
That's just my weird
Um,
description. If I had to put one on. It's just
Yes.
like the back of the box. You put quotes.
Yeah, it's kind of like again, I mean, in the beginning, I would say the first 20 minutes, it was just the main character was just completely into himself. He was just so up his own ass. He just thought he was God's gift. He was just, he was just all about him, looking in the mirror, talking to himself. Oh, you are just so pretty today. Like that kind of like
Yep.
insanity. And I was really like, where is this going? I had never seen the movie, so I was really excited to see where it was going to take me. And I wasn't disappointed, but again, it went one way and then it turned into something else. And that really, I was along for the ride like, up until the end where, finally the woman, actually the woman gets her man, which is usually the other way around. The guy gets the girl, but the
Right.
woman gets her man. Like she really was down for him. And he was like, yeah, after all I put you through, your reward is you get to have me. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind
I thought it
of,
was pretty tragic and pretty romantic. I thought it definitely had.
yeah,
I mean, Calvin Lockhart is an underrated actor. He played a lot of very
yeah,
narcissistic characters well,
yeah,
but then he was good at
hmm
playing a whole bunch of other types of characters too. So that's his
yeah.
kind of range, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like he was also in another movie. I was going to do Uptown Saturday Night and I was going to
Oh
do
yeah,
Let's
I
Do It
forgot he's in it.
Again. Yeah, if you haven't seen those movies, they are so hysterical. Sidney
yeah.
Poitier and Bill Cosby and Jimmy Walker. And then he was also in it. He, of course, played like the pimp, which was a very heavy, heavy theme in those types of movies.
Mhm.
But but it was so hard to, you know what I mean? But so I went with something I just didn't know anything about, and I thought that would be a good,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
good one to
cool.
go down. But I do suggest Uptown Saturday Night.
I'm gonna make an embarrassing admission. I have a blaxploitation watch list.
Mhm.
There's about 300 some movies, basically everything that could be construed between like 66 to the mid 80s roughly. So I've seen 200 of them. So I'm off to a good start. But I have not seen the Sidney Poitier trilogy with those guys. I have not seen
They're
any of the
good.
three. I have seen them all, but I've not seen them all the way through as an adult who could register it. I
Mhm.
started a couple times. As a kid, I saw
Mhm.
one on TV. So they're
Mhm.
high on my wish list to
Okay.
watch them. But I'm familiar with them. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, they're
impressive.
they're very well done. They're extremely entertaining. I
Yeah.
think, I saw them I saw them when I was like I didn't know a lot, but as I got older, I saw like, oh, there was like this sort of little sneaky double entendres in there. And once you are able to grasp it all, it becomes something more than the sum of its parts. So I would recommend if you want to watch that, that'd be great. So as far as Matilda is concerned, yeah, he had to go out and exact revenge on this woman that he had fallen madly in love with. He had, I think, like a one night stand or tryst with her, and then found her uh, dead in his apartment after he brought her flowers. And then he was being set up. He was really being set up.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
right. So it was up to him to. So, like I said, it kind of had like this murder mystery, detective, shafty type love story triangle, but it all seemed to work together really well.
Yeah, I
And
really
I
liked it.
enjoyed it.
I only knew it because it was on that list I just mentioned because I'd
Uh-huh.
been on a website And then I just happened to see it. It was on YouTube, and then I saw Calvin Lockhart was in it. I was like, hell yeah! I just sat in and watched it. Then about a week later, I watched it again, and
Right, right,
it kind of
right,
took
right.
me off guard. There's a really, really obscure exploitation movie called Melinda. That's it's a white cast, unrelated to this movie. But when I saw the name at first, I thought they were the same movie when I read it, and I'm like, maybe they were black characters. Because all I've seen of that Melinda is the trailer. It's almost like one of those lost films, but Something Weird Video put out a ton of these compilation of these trailers. There's movies on there I'm
Yeah.
still looking for. Like Don't Just Lay There is legendary. I've even found newspaper ads for it, but I cannot. Nobody has the movie. The trailer, but if it lives up to a fraction of the trailer, it's going to be one of the most craziest exploitation movies ever. But the Melinda trailer was like really tragic and dark looking for a black exploitation movie. I mean, an exploitation movie. And so I thought it was that movie at first, but I do see the one with Calvin Lockhart. So that's something.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
long. And not
yeah.
many people talk about it compared to a lot of his roles in that period. So
Mm-hmm,
good choice.
mm-hmm.
Justin, can you tell Briggie who you are and the
Tell
audience?
briefly who I am. Introduction.
Yay. Go for it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So shall I do my first movie?
After your introduction, you can.
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Justin. I live in Melbourne, Australia. Nice to meet you, by the way, Funky. I think it's your
Briggie.
first time
Oh,
I've seen
Briggie.
you on camera.
Like Brigadoon in the Brig.
Okay. All right. Well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And I appear occasionally to talk movies. I go to quite a few films, particularly at this Art Deco cinema near where I live. Saw Alien double feature last Friday. It turns out it's the 45th anniversary for the film Alien. So hence why I
Nice.
think it was so crowded at the double feature last week, which was great. And I've known Henry, how long? Probably about close to a year now, I'd say.
3
at
or 4
least.
years, yeah.
Yeah, more than a year. So I've been
Yeah, a couple of years at least.
intermittently on the panel here over at least the last 12 months anyway. So
He's
it's fun to
he's
do.
actually a founding member. He's one of the first people asked to do it because he just happened to be texting me about Luke Cage comics a lot at that time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, he mentioned some movies, and I said, hey, well, I want to do a podcast. Do you want to like give it a shot? And so, he's still
it's
here.
at least
So
a year.
it worked out.
That's right. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's good having different themes. I think probably my favorite genre would be horror films, but also to an extent sci-fi as well. And just general thrillers and dramas. Comedies if they're good, but they seem to be few and far between these days. So I find myself watching Ricky Gervais for comedy anyway on Netflix. Anyway, so I'll go ahead with my first film then.
Right.
And I thought I've got two to speak about. The first one was Get On Up, which is the biopic of James Brown. And I first saw this on probably a year or so after it was released on a commercial airline flight. And I liked it from the start. And I've since seen it, not on the big screen, but on the TV screen since then a couple of times. So I've probably seen it about 3 times. And I didn't know much wasn't really a fan of James Brown before seeing the film, but I think seeing it has given me a more appreciation of James Brown and his music. I certainly do like the sort of funky sort of music that he produced.
Yeah.
And also I'm a big fan of Chadwick Boseman, who played the lead character of James Brown. He did an amazing job in terms of playing the role, but also the singing and the music as well. And apparently, interestingly, the film was produced by Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones.
I didn't
And
know that.
perhaps no coincidence that there is an early scene, I think, in the Johnny Carson show when James Brown hasn't been in the business very long. And the next act wanting to come on is the Rolling Stones. So it was supposed to be in the mid-60s when this occurred. So there's a scene sort of a third of the way through the film. The film starts off with a kind of a strange but almost ironically funny scene where it's later in James Brown's life, and he's got an office somewhere in Atlanta, Georgia, and next door there's a conference center, And one of the ladies from the conference center decides to go and use the bathroom, but she uses the bathroom that's pertinent to James Brown's office. So he walks in, and just after she's left through the other door, and doesn't like the odor emanating from the bathroom, so he storms into the with a shotgun, interrupts the conference, and asks who it was who used the bathroom for his office, and then proceeds to blow a hole in the ceiling of the conference center. So without
Oh my
without
gosh.
further ado, the participants in the conference have all flung themselves to the floor, covering their heads, and the police arrive. So that happens as James Brown leaves and drives off. The police arrives, and so that scene is repeated towards the end of the film. So where the film starts out,
It was repeated a lot in his life. Sadly.
So, yeah. So he ends up in jail in his actual life, and I suppose in the film as well, because that scene is then repeated. The opening scene of the film is then repeated at the end of the biopic as well, towards the end. I think Viola Davis is in the film as well. I think she was playing James Brown's mother, because it starts from when he was quite young, growing up in the backwoods, literally in a cabin in Georgia. And his dad was abusive in terms of violence. His mum left, but the father demanded that the young James Brown be left behind. But his dad decided eventually he couldn't maintain the child, so left the young James Brown effectively at a hostel boarding house somewhere, and he basically grew up from there. Yeah, but it was always into music, and ended up staying with a middle class family, and together those guys formed a band. So there was also a scene that's quite shocking that, and he kind of remembers the scene later on in the film when he was quite young, where black kids were taken to an estate somewhere in the South, and one arm tied behind their backs, and then with the other arm, they were in a boxing match while everyone was sort of watching on and taking bets. So the young James Brown had to participate in that while his dad was playing in the jazz band alongside these boxing matches. So there was that commentary as well. His mother then, later in the film, his mother gets in touch, the mother that abandoned James Brown gets in touch with him, I think in the early 70s. By this stage, he was very well known and quite famous. So he kind of queries why she's taken so many years to get back in touch. And it turns out that she is asking for some money at the same time. So I think his relationship with his parents is explored throughout the film, and his explanation, I suppose, of the downward spiral that James Brown ends up on towards the end of the film, in terms of drugs and so forth. But the music side of the film is quite strong. There's a lot of James Brown music, as you can imagine. Boseman does a very good job of playing James Brown and in terms of on stage James Brown persona and singing. So
you got to get that
I
scream
like,
down pat.
Yeah,
He had one
I
of the
just
best screams in all music, man. God,
Yeah.
he could out scream Iggy Pop, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about James Brown and wasn't really a fan.
Sure.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan necessarily now, but I have a greater appreciation of James Brown in terms of who he was. But it's certainly an interesting biopic, and I'd recommend having a look at it if you get the chance.
I haven't seen it. So,
yeah, it's
cool.
You wouldn't see it at the cinema, I guess, but you might be able to find it on Netflix or one of the streaming channels. If
yeah,
you've
it's
got
somewhere. I haven't seen it, but I'm interested because I like James Brown, but I like Chadwick Boseman too.
Yeah, and there's a number of films that he's in that he's amazing, like the biopic of I think it's called Marshall. It's about Thurgood Marshall, the first one of the first black Supreme Court justices. And he played Thurgood Marshall as effectively a civil rights lawyer from the late 40s through the 1950s. I think the story was set. So that I watched that probably a month or two before I heard of the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman as well. So, but that is also a great film. So there are other films other than Black Panther, where you can
Oh yeah,
appreciate
that's
it.
that obscure movie he made. I was going to mention that, the really tiny
Yeah,
obscure
which is
indie
also
movie,
very,
Black
very good.
Panther.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I'm
guys.
still sad that he died, and I'm not
Yeah.
joking.
So am I.
I don't. I
That
mean,
was really tragic.
I actually did shed a tear or two. It was just,
Same.
and I know the guy Don McGregor who wrote a lot of the comic books that movie's based on, and
Mhm.
man, he was wrecked. He loved because they had met a
Yeah.
few times, and he was just like, "Oh my God, T'Challa's dead." It's
Yeah, like
Yeah.
by all accounts I've heard, Chadwick Boseman was a genuinely just really good
Yeah.
dude, and yeah,
yeah,
that was really sad.
and his character was definitely going to be major in the movies that have come out since
Mhm.
Endgame. But
Yeah.
you know, but I did love
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever though, and I thought
God, that
film, it
movie
was
made me
brilliant.
cry and cry and cry.
I loved everybody in it. I thought
Yeah,
I love Namor. I've always been a Namor fan.
yeah.
Shuri was on point. Of course, Angela, I guess, won an Oscar for it. So she's the
Well, she was
second.
nominated. Yeah,
She was
she was
nominated.
nominated.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have gone to Ricky Lee. What was her name?
That's
Jamie Lee
right.
Curtis. Jamie
Angela
Lee Curtis.
Bassett was robbed. God damn it.
Yes, she was. I have
But
opinions about that. She's been robbed
I
multiple
do have
times.
and Don McGregor, the guy I just mentioned, he created that character Queen Ramonda, because when he was introduced, his flashbacks were him and his father, but his mother was like nowhere to be seen. So Don kind of made her up and explained why they'd been separated. Well, father's dead. That was one reason, but why she left Wakanda for a while.